Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to News Time. We're a game show now. I'm your host, Chad White. Now, listen up here. We are in the final Jeopardy of the round, if you will. I've got a Wheel of Fortune in my hand, and we're going to be a millionaire. So who wants to be one of those at the end of this round? All right, you can win whatever is in my wallet if you know how much money is in my wallet. If you can guess, oh, okay. Hey, give me a second. Ron, you want to spot me a couple of bucks here? I don't have anything. I truly... $10. It's $10. Okay. Well, our producer Ron's going to get some cash from the vault over there. We'll throw to our sponsors. Today's sponsor is Wet Socks again. We haven't had them for like 2 years. Wet socks? Okay, well listen. Wet socks. You hate when you walk around and you step in something wet in your house and you got socks and they're wet for a little bit and they stay wet for a long time. Well, Wet Socks are here to be perpetually wet for you. Wet Socks. Ron, I got nothing. You got the money? No? Okay. Enjoy the rest of this show.
It's news time. Delivering to you the news you didn't know about, the news you didn't care about, and the news you didn't know you cared about. With host, Chad White. Now, here's that host, Chad White.
Welcome back to News Time. I'm your host, Chad White, and this is the HQ news you didn't news about. Game shows have been a simple source of entertainment nearly since the inception of the television. It's natural, then, that 12 years after the release of the modern smartphone and 14 years after the advent of a new generation of online video and 20-some-odd years after a certain news time host was born, game shows have evolved, not in format, but in execution. There's no shortage of game show styles currently on television. ABC shows one centered around mini golf. Fox has one about trying to one-up the music identifying app Shazam. NBC has whatever, I don't know how to describe this. But as with the ever-growing App Store, taking real-life mundane ideas and making them app-sized, there was bound to be a successful phone-based game show hybrid. And in 2018, we got just that. That's where HQ comes in. HQ is a trivia app where every viewer is a contestant and has a chance to win a slice of the monetary pie. It had the machinations of what every game show-based app should have. Charming hosts, reputation by word of mouth, availability on both major platforms, and it's live. Even though it was consistently fraught with buggy shows, HQ made its way to the top of the App Store because of its promise of big wins and the ease in which anyone could participate. And then popularity faded. Things only got worse. Even though HQ had given away about $1.2 million over a 6-month span in late 2017 and early 2018, there would be a lot of growth and failings. Around this time last year, HQ began to expand into the set-top box market. Not even that was enough to stop a steep plunge set to hit the platform. Just as it loaded onto the Apple TV, HQ saw a drop in user base. The number one downloaded app fell to 10 in the Apple ecosystem, experiencing a similar fall on the Android side. Around the same time, the inevitable copycats reared their heads. Fox has one that I'm almost pretty positive could currently be dead, even without me having to download the app to figure it out. Then there's an app called Joyride, aimed to let any user participate in and create their own trivia shows. HQ may be outmatched when it comes to copycats with bigger brand names or better usability, but that's not stopping the company from releasing spin-offs of its own. That it did with a word game dubbed HQ Words, another live show that's more Wheel of Fortune than Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Progress is progress, and a sidestep is still progress. HQ suffers from more than copycats, buggy shows, or missteps in app development. There's also the fact that many users had the most amount of trouble receiving their winning payouts, thanks in part to a stupid $20 threshold limit they had to reach in order to cash out. Couple that with how much money one could win during a game if you were lucky enough to, or smart enough to get to the end of the show, which was a feat in of itself, then you had to split the money with the few hundred others that made it too. They eventually dropped that requirement, but users are still having trouble even a year later. HQ would eventually pivot to shows with physical prizes in lieu of monetary ones in an effort to boost its waning popularity. The real troubles began in late 2018. The host, Scott Rogowski, quickly found his new life elsewhere. More on that in a bit, babies. CEO Colin Kroll, half of the team behind the failed yet ultra-popular Vine, had an HR complaint against him. It wasn't a Me Too moment, but it was deathly serious, and the board knew about it. According to Recode, Kroll has somewhat of a history of being hard to work with, and oh hey, there's a Me Too complaint in there too, so he's hitting all the wrong bases. Of course, every investigation, quote, yielded no concern, so please, don't come after me, guy. I got no money. All I have is a show. The move to CEO came after the company's original founder, Russ Yusupov, known for being the other half of the little app that could, called Vine, became the CCO and quickly hated the change even though he was part of the reason why the step down happened in the first place. As the viewers were on their way out, the HQ employees so too wanted their boss, Yusupov, to leave the company entirely after he reportedly threatened to fire the host Rogowski because of a Daily Beast profile that was going to be published, but Yusupov said he never said any of those things. I really suggest you go read up on this saga because it is a real doozy. Yusupov wasn't the best CEO, and he didn't move quickly in decision-making, and he wasn't exactly money-savvy, so the step aside may look bad for him, but it's better for the company as a whole. With all the troubles in the rear view, okay, most of them. That Me Too with the CEO Kroll is still stagnant in the air. HQ is ready to move forward in a big, broad way. And yes, you can call it a comeback. New hosts, new prizes, and a whole lot of hope for new and returning viewers. They're currently in season 4 right now. Viewers hover around the 325,000 mark, so it can only get higher from here. I know how numbers work, but you gotta have hope, baby. They've reduced the number of shows down to 1 time slot. Maybe they can reduce the number of viewers they're losing as well. Speaking of viewers that are losing, why don't you just try winning one day and subscribe and check out one of our videos. You can always follow us on Twitter and Instagram at @SequelsComedy. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ChadBlackWhite. Like us on Facebook. Listen to the Constitutionals podcast. And please, just give me money for the game show so I can host my own game show. I want to be like Bob Barker. But I am spayed and neutered, so